Hey guys, it's me Maro, and holy shit! What do you mean my channel has reached 2,000 subscribers? What the fuck? By the time I'm recording this, it's actually reached more around the 2,070 mark. But still, oh my god. Ever since I started making this channel over 7 years ago, I never expected it to reach such heights like this. And I have no one else to thank but all of you guys. The fact that you guys are sticking around for this long just for me to make some shitty videos it's honestly insane. With the release of the intro for Season 2 of the AHHHHHHH, I can confidently say that the next episode will be coming out soon. But in other news, I am now in the process of making the next chapter of Lucifer's Wish, in which the next chapter will be the conclusion of Volume 1. Obviously, I can't say what will come next in the future chapters when they come out, but trust me, you guys are in for a treat. On the topic of manga, however, just recently we were shown a whopping 3 new chapters of Berserk in the span of like a month. If that doesn't sound like a big deal to you, then let me put it into perspective. The last chapter was around 10 months ago. Yeah, wow. I have my own mixed thoughts on these new chapters. Chapter 384 was pretty cool, and was going in a direction that both me and my brother predicted. But chapters 385 and 386 felt kinda generic? Looking back on some of the older Berserk chapters, such as the Golden Age and Conviction arcs, I feel as if those two specific arcs really felt super unique, at least in my opinion. The Golden Age arc felt kinda fun, with almost nothing demonic happening. Well, until the end with the eclipse. And the Conviction arc is an almost beginning of Berserk's second half, where we have so much more introduced. With both of these arcs, we get shown so many different characters, but one of the most reoccurring characters in this series, and probably one of the most popular characters in the story, is this person. A knight of armor resembling a skeleton, and the head identical to a skull. This is Skull Knight. Skull Knight is one of the main characters in Berserk, having such an iconic design next to people like Guts and Griffith, and almost like a mentor to our main characters. Skull Knight's importance to Berserk for the longest time has been very ambiguous and mysterious. Throughout the almost 400 chapters there are in the story, Skull Knight has only appeared for like a fraction of them. But for most of the times he has appeared, he has shown and told us quite a bit that ties into the story even more. And when I mean told us a lot, I mean told us a lot. There's literally been times where Guts just went through the most traumatic moments in his life just for Skull Knight to appear and say the most cryptic shit and leave. I love this character. Because Skull Knight is one of the more popular characters in Berserk, you're probably wondering if there's any merch of him. I mean, we got merch of Guts, Griffith, recently a Casca figure, in which I must ask, why is she light-skinned? She's clearly black. But with Skull Knight, we don't actually have that much. Well, actually, we kinda only have one figure of Skull Knight, in which that is the topic for today's video. So for today's video, I will be reviewing the Figma Skull Knight from Berserk. A kinda long overdue review since, like, how long has it been since I made that post? You all voted this to be my next review. Well, okay, kinda, since, like, most of you voted for the other ones, but he was still next in line, so I also wanted to review him. Now, you might expect me to go more into detail of Skull Knight and his own, character, but, like, it's been over 30 years and we still don't know who the fuck this guy is. Again, we have hints and stuff on who he maybe was, but nothing too concrete. But because I want to nerd out about Berserk just a little bit more, my favorite manga of all time, I will be giving my own thoughts on who Skull Knight is. This will go into some major spoilers for the story, so skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid spoilers. Skull Knight first appears in the Golden Age arc. When Guts leaves the Band of the Hawk, he is confronted by the knight riding on his trusty steed, foretelling Guts about his future and the eclipse. Later in the Golden Age arc, during when Guts and the gang were on their journey to save Griffith, a story was told about a king way back in the past, a ruler named King Berserk. Berserk? I'm gonna say Berserk. Uniting all of the countries thousands of years ago, he became basically the ruler of the land. The only thing shown of this man was his helmet, that being a skull. Later on during the eclipse, Skull Knight encounters the Apostle Zod, with the two of them having what seems to be a rematch of the century. And knowing of who Zod worships later on, we see that Skull Knight is clearly against the God Hand, and not an apostle like the rest. Breaking into the eclipse to save Guts and Casca, we get one moment where he tries to strike Void, the main God Hand member. Clearly they have history with each other. Later on, when Guts gets the Berserker armor, we see that the helmet takes the form of a skull, and Skull Knight even seemingly has a connection with it. Everything so far has been building up to some type of answer, and even though I did say we don't know who this man is, I actually lied. In chapter 362, Guts is struck with a hammer, but not just any hammer, a hammer from the blacksmith who forged the Berserker armor himself. And because of this, a memory is played right before Guts, showing what seems to be a past event that is strikingly similar to the eclipse, in which it's described by the blacksmith as the moment that caused the previous owner to succumb to the power of the Berserker. While the overall environment looks different to what the actual eclipse looked like, we do see two very familiar faces, one of them being Void in the center of the older God Hand members, and a man in the Berserker armor. This man is Skull Knight. Through my own interpretations, I believe that Skull Knight was originally in the position that Griffith was in before the eclipse. You know, being a ruler, taking over all the lands, being like a knight and all that, which would weirdly put Void in the place of Guts before the eclipse. These two clearly have history, but the events that unfolded put Skull Knight in the position of Guts and Void in the position of Griffith. Perhaps maybe that Skull Knight saw that Guts was someone who was born outside of the real and astral world. Maybe he was the same way, and that's why he saved Guts in the eclipse. Again, we don't really get any clear answers, but I do really love this chapter for actually showing some of Skull Knight's past. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite chapters in the manga, right next to the Berserker armor chapters. So yeah, hopefully that gives some more context to those who don't mind spoilers, but for those who want to keep things secret, welcome back to the review. It's finally time to move away from the lore and start with the box Skull Knight comes in. The box Skull Knight comes in is a simple Figma box. It's red, has images of the figure all around, and a very square-shaped clear window in the front to see the figure on the inside. This box, in my opinion, is kinda boring. Nothing sticks out like the SH Guts box, and also, just a slight nitpick, but I feel like the red color doesn't really fit Skull Knight. Other than that, the box isn't really that surprising. So let's just move this box out of the way and bring in the actual figure. And oh wow! The painting and sculpting on this figure is very nice looking. Out of most designs in Berserk, Skull Knight is honestly one of the more simple looking ones, but in areas he does also have quite a bit of detail. First, let's look over the actual armor. Skull Knight's armor is made to resemble bones and muscles, so obviously in areas you'll see stuff like a ribcage pattern on the chest, the back, skeleton feet and hands, but in other areas you could see some muscle definitions, almost like the armor itself is morphing around the person on the inside. Well, I don't think there's actually anyone in there, because, he's not human anymore. The design of the armor itself is very nicely sculpted. Again, compared to most other designs in Berserk, Skull Knight's body is a mixture between very simple and complex design choices. Because besides the skeleton bits, we also do have a bit more detail, like the spikes on the knees, skirt areas, shoulder panels, which adds to the danger feel for this figure. Even though Skull Knight isn't, actually evil or anything, he is still kind of a menace. Because this figure is just made up of hard plastic, these spiky bits here are pretty sharp. But before we get to the head, I want to mention that the cape and little skirt areas here are actually made of a softer, clothy plastic material. It's not like actual cloth, but it's more like a mixture of the two. It feels fine, I guess, but it does kind of feel flimsy. But hey, at least we got more details on the back of the cape. I think that they were trying to go for an almost transparent look in areas for these parts, in which it does look really cool. But now we finally come to the head. Or should I say, skull... time when the sun is not out. The head for Skull Knight looks very good. It's very accurate to the manga, and looks just as mean as ever. This is one of the more simple design choices for the character, since it's literally just a skull with red eyes and thorns on the head. Once again, these are sharp, so be careful. Sculpt-wise, Skull Knight looks really good. Considering that they're taking a manga character with some semi-complex design choices and turning it into a 3D figure, they basically got every little detail down to a T. But will that continue with the paint? The paint on Skull Knight here is, once again, very nice and kinda simple. Most of Skull Knight's body is covered in this shiny rough silver paint material, which looks very reflective and I love it. Even with this black wash all over the figure, you could still tell that this figure is supposed to look like a metal suit of armor. A metal suit of armor that's been like worn out for many, many years, maybe even centuries. Besides the silver, you only really got 3 more colors. Black in the ribcage areas, cloth parts and face, brown for the belt, things on the skirt area, and red for the eyes. So for the most part, you're basically just gonna get a silver color. For me, when it comes to paint for just any figure in general, if you're gonna have your figure be painted in mostly one solid color like this, you gotta make sure that you emphasize that detail. When it comes to figures like Godzilla, you don't really need to since the skin is rough, and that will do the detail for you and do like lots of different colors, even just with one solid color, like, you know, in lighting and shading. But for here, Skull Knight's armor is actually pretty smooth, very different from, you know, all the other Godzilla figures. So the fact that the black wash here adds some weathering is a very, very nice touch. Other than that though, Skull Knight here looks very, very good. He is basically 100% accurate to the manga, and I'm glad that Figma, or Good Smile, was able to get every little detail right on this figure. But is him looking good his only strong suit? Well, Skull Knight has shown to do a lot of cool-ass poses when he's fighting demons and shit, so let's see if he can do all of that when it comes to his articulation. First, the head is on a ball joint. However, because of these spike things around the head, like not the actual head, but like more on the, I guess, neck area, it's a bit hard to actually move it without hurting yourself, so be careful. Also, I think the joint is like near the back of the head and not the center, so moving it is kinda a bit awkward. You can still do quite a bit with it. The shoulder panel is on a ball joint, so it can move out of the way for the arm joint. The shoulder is on a ball joint, a bicep swivel, a double bend at the elbow, and a ball joint at the hand. The body is on 2 ball joints, so you can get an arcing back and a crunch. These side skirts look like they can move with like these little belt area things, but they cannot. Also, I would advise to be careful with these belt things, because sadly one part of them did break off. I can easily fix it with some super glue, but it still sucks. The leg is on a ball joint, a thigh swivel, a double bend at the knee, a hinge joint at the foot, a decent pivot, and finally a toe bend. The articulation on Skull Knight here is actually very good. Wait a minute. Oh yeah! I completely forgot about his cape! Like I said earlier, Skull Knight's cape is made with this felt-like material. However, inside of this material is actually some bendy wires, which means that you have practically unlimited articulation with the cape. Although I will say, the wires used inside this cape is kinda thin. I can tell it's not as thick as the ones used on the SH Guts figure, which does mean you can get more articulation in theory, but I can also see these breaking in the future compared to, you know, the other bendy wires that I have. So if you ever get this figure, just be mindful of that. Overall though, Skull Knight has a very large amount of articulation, so you can practically get him into any pose from the manga. My only real critiques are the cape, but even then, that's only for potential things to occur in the future. Right now, the cape on my copy is really good. Skull Knight can basically do anything that he did in the manga. However, in order to show all of that off, we need to bring out all of his accessories that he comes with. First thing Skull Knight comes with is 3 extra pairs of hands, and they're on this like runner thing. Besides these normal hands, we got fists, holding hands, and spread open hands. With these holding hands, you can make Skull Knight hold his sword, which is once again beautifully painted and sculpted. All you gotta do is fit the hilt into the hand, and... Ow, fuck. That's... hold on. I fucking cut myself. Ow. Ow, dude. I'm not putting it in the hilt or whatever bullshit. Ow. But fucking, you would put it in there and then he would hold it, right? But... no, you know, I'm just gonna show it. I'm gonna show it right now. You know what? Fuck you, Skull Knight. You fucking. Why don't you get? So look, you have the sword, right? Look, you got another hand with another sword, right? And you can put the shit right there. And no, like right there. You right there. And look at that. Look, sturdy connection. You don't need this. Where is it? You don't need this fucking hand right here, because if you try to put it in this hand, you're gonna fucking cut yourself like this, and you're gonna bleed, and fucking take the Skull Knight's stupid fucking hand off and just put a stupid other sword in. There. Look, that's how you put the sword on. That's how you put it on. Jesus Christ, I cut myself actually a lot there. Holy shit. That's the first time in how many years I've been reviewing figures that his fucking sword fell off. His sword came off.
This never usually happens.
It looks a lot more natural, and this way, it's a lot more sturdy. However, it only comes with one hand, the right hand, and you'll see why in a second with our next accessory. The next thing Skull Knight comes with is an extra arm piece, but this time it has belts on it and a fixed hand in place. To put it on the figure, all you gotta do is remove the arm piece at the elbow and replace it with this new one. With this new arm attached, you can now bring in Skull Knight's shield. His shield looks very nice and accurate to the manga, and as you can see here, there are little divots that line up with the belt pieces. So now all you gotta do is just clip it in, and now Skull Knight can wear his shield just like in the manga. Awesome. This is the reason the sword hand was only on one side. It's because the other side had the shield accessory. The last accessory Skull Knight comes with is the stand. It's a standard Figma stand, so you got a swivel hinge joint, and a hinge joint at the stand arms. All you gotta do is plug it into the back of the figure, and you got yourself a way to get this figure into some aerial poses. All of Skull Knight's accessories are very cool looking. He comes with a decent amount of them to relate to the character pretty well, and you got quite a bit of options with them. However, if you are looking for some more accessories for this figure, then I shall direct you to the Deluxe Edition. It's the same figure as the one I'm reviewing right now, however the added stuff he comes with is a Behelit sword, that he uses later on in the story, and his horse. All the added things are really cool looking, but keep in mind, this will make the price go up way more than before. I mean, the horse is literally larger than him, so of course it's going to be more expensive. For me though, I like to display Skull Knight like this. The classic pose of him holding his sword with his shield in his other arm, it looks really awesome. So let's see how he looks next to some other figures I got lying around. Here he is next to the Nyanner's Nedroid, my previous review, the SH Figuarts Rei and Asuka, the Figma Pyramid Head, the Hiya Toys Godzilla 2000, and finally, here he is next to the SH Figuarts Guts Berserker armor figure. Oh my god! They look incredible together! Knowing about the connections with these two characters, it's just so cool to see them next to each other in so many cool ways. And surprisingly, they actually scale very well with each other. And it makes me excited to get even more Berserk figures to go along with them. But should I actually get more of these figures? Or will it be too much for my wallet to handle? Well, let's look it over with the price. The Figma Skull Knight on average can be found for around $100, which for a figure like this, is actually pretty decent. This figure is very detailed and accurate to the manga, has lots of articulation, a decent amount of accessories, and fits very well with the rest of your collection. So $100 seems pretty normal and reasonable for this figure. However, if you are looking into getting the deluxe edition with the added accessories, you're looking to drop around $150 to $200, which is definitely a lot for this figure, but again, considering that it comes with a lot of stuff, it makes sense. I will still say though that for the price that this figure is, it's definitely very fair and reasonable for this figure overall. But as the trend has been for the past 2 reviews, this figure was actually not one that I bought myself. No, this figure was actually a gift for me. It was given to me by my older brother around Christmas of last year, the same brother who got me the Beast Glove Kong figure from last year. I have said this before many times with all my other reviews, but getting these figures as gifts makes them feel so much more special. So thank you to my brother for giving me this figure as a gift for Christmas, and... wait... my brother? So overall, my final thoughts on this figure is pretty obvious. This figure is amazing. Skull Knight is one of those characters that seems like he can be easily made into a figure. I mean, come on, it's just a guy with a skeleton armor with lots of spikes. But actually seeing it in hand with the Figma figure, holy shit, this guy is just amazing. All of his accessories are nice to relate to the character so much more, he could do a lot with his posability, and the fact that he could scale with my Guts figure is just so awesome. He's also fairly affordable from what it seems like. Pretty easy to find him around different shops and stuff like that. So because of this, I will be giving Skull Knight the crowning achievement as the second figure on this channel to receive a 10 out of 10. If you are a fan of Berserk, I highly recommend that you pick up this figure. He is super worth it and will be a fantastic addition to your collection. Well, that's about it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Once again, I have to give just a huge thanks to everyone for getting me to 2,000 subscribers. Like, 2,000 subscribers. I didn't think it was possible. I actually did not think that that was possible at all. But you all proved me wrong, and you guys are still sticking with me after all this time, and thanks guys. I did post it earlier, like, on the polls section posts of my channel. I did put out another poll for you guys to decide what figure I will review be after the Skull Knight review, and it seems that poll's probably done because it's pretty unanimous. Yes, my next review that I will be doing will be of the Hiya Toys Behemoth from Godzilla King of the Monsters. So stay tuned for that when that comes out, but until then, thank you all for watching and sticking around, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you later.